Welcome aboard to podcast 38 in the series of the Voyage to Back Yonder. This will be the third episode that we're stepping through the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet that was created by a wonderful lady, Byron Katie. And all the materials are available for free at thework.com. A link should be in the description of this podcast. And I'm sharing this process because it's been such a life changer for me. So I wanted to at least let you know about it so you can add it to your toolbox if you want to. And we're stepping through each of the questions on the worksheet around a situation I had at work that I was having frustration with. This person I'm calling Jack interrupted a conversation that our team was having, and we're being excited and celebrating, and then he interrupted just to mention that he heard thunder and hoped it wasn't going to bring hail to destroy his plans. Podcast number 36 was like an introduction to this process as we started applying it to question number 1. In the last podcast, 37, we completed question 1, and now we'll move on to question number 2. The rest of the questions seem to move more quickly than the first, so we'll probably have just one more podcast after this one to wrap up this specific worksheet. So hang in there. In each of the remaining questions, we can apply the 4-question step with asking, 1, if it's true, 2, if I can absolutely know that it's true, 3, how do I feel and act when I believe the thought? And number 4, how do I feel and act when I can set that belief aside for a moment? This 4-question step has allowed me to see that it isn't the situation that's causing me stress, but my belief around the situation. Because when I believe it, I'm stressed. When I set it aside for a moment, I'm at peace. But don't just believe me. Test this yourself because it's an amazing journey. So for this podcast, I'm going to focus on the turnaround step because they're the ones that just blow my mind. So let's get started. So question number 2 asks, in this situation, how do I want him or her to change? What do I want him or her to do? So in this situation, I want Jack to choose to be happy. I want him to change his ways and be supportive instead of destructive. Don't you love the tone the fear ego puts in there? So the turnaround that gets me to my core seems to be the one where I turn the mirror on myself and I replace that other character, Jack, with the character of me. So in this situation, I want me to choose to be happy. How is that true or truer than me thinking Jack needs to be happy? Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be happy. One of my conditional love laws that my fear ego is skilled at getting me to loop around in is that I can be happy when I'm making other people happy. And if they aren't happy, then I'm failing. So then I conclude I'm unlovable and acceptable in that situation. So when someone's not being happy, my fight or flight kicks in, and I'll either reject that person and flee from them, or I double down and try to make them choose to be happy. Sounds nuts, right? But it sounds familiar, don't it? I'm also happy, or my fear ego tries to make me think I'm feeling happy when I feel like a hero. Yay! I saved the damsel in distress and made them choose happiness. The crowd goes wild and throws a celebration. And maybe my boss notices and praises me for it and rewards me for it. My fear ego will show me the benefits of trying to persuade other people to choose to act or feel the way I think they should. And then I become dogmatic about it. I start my own crusade, and lives are lost in the battles. But all that won't make me happy. When I'm in that loop of trying to find my happiness by external people or external situations or possessions, I'll be disappointed because those items are unstable. People change or die. Situations never stay the same. And things, they deteriorate, they break, or they're stolen. The only way I have found happiness is when I release my self-worth from external validation. When I release my self-worth from external validation. When I found unconditional love inside me for me, then I felt stable. I felt loved. I felt at peace. So I do want myself to choose to be happy. And I do that by choosing to get back into my own business. The second part of my answer, I want him to change his ways and be supportive instead of destructive, turned around becomes, I want me to change my ways and be supportive instead of destructive. And how is that true? Wow, yes. I want to support my own love and my own business, my life. I want to stop being self-destructive and judging myself so harshly. I want to stop being out there in everyone else's business, abandoning myself, trying to change them and trying to make them be who I want them to be, act how I want them to act, and try to make them love me, darn it. I can be supportive with unconditional love, towards others, no conditions, just letting them be who they are, letting myself be who I am. And then if I feel uncomfortable emotions, I can put them down on paper on this worksheet to understand my stress and anxiety. That feels more like us, doesn't it? Free, loving, and at peace. That feels more like who we really are. I love the next question, number 3, because it's the advice we would give the other person. And of course, it ends up being the recipe for peace that we can give ourselves in the situation. So number 3 states, in this situation, what advice would I offer him or her? So he or she should or shouldn't, yada, yada, yada. So in this situation, my advice is that Jack shouldn't worry about so much. He should choose to be happy instead of focusing on what he doesn't have. He should be grateful for the many things he has in his life, right? And it's amazing. The words of wisdom that we can come up with for other people in the situations they're having in their lives, right? We can be very impressed with the advice we can give. But when I take my own advice, it could sound like this. I shouldn't worry about so much. I should choose to be happy instead of focusing on what I don't have. I should be grateful for the many things I have in my life. Wow, that is great advice. I also have this thing with shoulds. So those for me sound like expectations. And so when they don't happen, it feels disappointing and I judge myself for not living up to my shoulds. So I like to replace should with could. And this transforms my advice for myself to sound something like this. I could not worry about so much. I could. I could choose to be happy instead of focusing on what I don't have. I could be grateful for the many things I have in my life. So when I use could, the power switches back to me and my power of choice, rather than pretending something external has power over me and that it should be. It becomes powerful instead of me being suppressed and a victim of something that should happen. I also find that gratitude is a fear destroyer. So when I begin to focus on one thing I'm thankful for and then another, that huge hole of need fills up. And I realize how abundant my life is. I don't need to worry about so much outside of myself. I don't need to worry about so much outside of my control. When I get down to the root fears about what would happen to the world if I didn't police it to make sure everything was unfolding as it should, I find that I worry about how other people will feel about themselves. But more importantly, I'm usually more concerned about what they will think about me if they are not happy. So funny. And the more I dig into these emotions, I see that no matter what I do for someone, they could still choose to be unhappy. All I can truly control is my choice about how I feel. Everyone is responsible for their own choices, not me. I'm only responsible and capable of deciding for myself. I learned after decades of supervising people that you can't make anyone do what they don't want to do. And you can invest as much energy as you want to try to trick or convince someone into doing what you think they should do. But they still aren't going to do anything they don't want to do. When has someone convinced you to do something you didn't want to do, really? When I realized that the world will continue to spin and people will continue to live with or without my meddling, it frees me from so much stress and weight on my shoulders. Regardless, if the world stops spinning or we all die, we still go on. We return home to eternity after this movie is done, after the game has ended. And in the end, we'll all be more than fine. It's like playing a poker game for pretzels with our friends. In the end, it was just a game. And we'll probably share our pretzel wins with our friends anyway. So other quick turnarounds for this question are that Jack should worry, shouldn't choose to be happy, and shouldn't be grateful. I can also say all those same phrases for myself. But as we question how that is true, we can see that experiencing these disappointments does its job of turning us inward to the answers we seek, to where unconditional love lives. It gives us the experience of opposites that we come here for. So in witnessing these uncomfortable emotions, we find more understanding of who we really are. Another turnaround is that Jack doesn't worry. He does choose to be happy, and Jack is grateful. as I investigate those statements to see how true they are, I can also see that it is true for Jack. And the evidence appears before me of how he celebrates his life experiences and achievements and how energetic he is, smiling almost all the time. So the turnarounds are so revealing if we open our minds and hearts in a reflective approach. We aren't trying to change ourselves or trying to change Jack. We're simply questioning why we feel what we feel about this specific situation. That's all. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Next episode will most likely finish up questions 4 through 6. Until then, take some deep breaths. Maybe peruse some of the videos that are available at thework.com and on YouTube. You know, I really love watching others work through the questions with Byron Katie. She's just so gentle, and they usually end up laughing a lot about the answers as their truth is revealed. But do what you want, because I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. But enjoy your voyage, Captain. I love you.